Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel.
Hey everyone, welcome beautiful people to Coffee with Foul Play. And today we're going to be continuing our series, Random MaM Talk. And today we're on part 3. Thank you very much for joining us. It's so glad to see all of you in chat, and it's fantastic. My name is Dr. Silkman. Now, today, joining me on our panel, we have Bibi, we have Jack61, we have Just Rhonda, Neverly, Not My Verbiage, Susan, Zoe, and Sammy. And guys, today, monitoring the chat, looking at your questions, will both be Zoe and Sammy. So guys, don't be shy. If you have any questions that you would like to ask the panel, please put them in chat, and we'll try and answer your questions as we read them. Well, look, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for joining our discussion this morning. And what I want to do just before we start the podcast proper is just to acknowledge a lot of the work that's being done by the Foul Play team at the moment. As you know, we have a very active YouTube channel where we have covered many aspects of the case, and we've had a look at Making a Murderer, both season 1 and season 2, where we've discussed most aspects of the case. That's both Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. We also, at the moment, we're doing some trial readings where we're going through the entire Stephen Avery trial. We've also done the pretrial as well. And the readings have been very, very useful and helpful in truly understanding what took place during the trial. And I've personally found them very rewarding. The way we do the trial readings is that we break them up. So if you've got a favorite person that you want to hear, for example, Dr. LeBeau, the FBI specialist, or Sherry Cohen, you can go to various aspects of the readings and listen in. You'll be surprised by how many golden nuggets there really are in those trial readings, and they've been really, really helpful. And it's just not only Team Foul Play that's very active. There are many other excellent YouTubers who are keeping the flame alive, both for Stephen, for Brendan, and also other wrongful conviction cases as well. At the moment, we're reading the book by Mark Godsey, Blind Injustice, and it's almost like a Bible of wrongful convictions and what takes place behind closed doors. That's the prosecutors, the attorneys, the juries, the judges, the investigators. It's a very eye-opening experience, and I thoroughly recommend the book, A Blind Injustice by Mark Godsey. It's really, really important. And as I said, it's not only Team Foul Play that's very active. There are many other excellent YouTubers out there keeping the flame alive on wrongful convictions. For example, we have Just Rhonda and her channel looking at Daniel in his particular case. We have Paul Capaldi, who's at the moment doing some readings from Blind Injustice. And I also appear live with Millbilly and Mark Hoddinott from Australia on a Monday night, my time, and we discuss various aspects of the case. And that's been very, very fruitful. We have Millbilly, of course, who posts a lot of the phone calls involving law enforcement and other members, and they are very, very interesting as well. We also have Kelly, who's done an excellent series on the Stephen Avery case, looking at forensic evidence and other aspects of the case. We have, of course, Not My Verbiage, who's her tireless and continual work in the Brendan Dassey case. She's got her own YouTube channels, I believe, and that's been going really well. And I also like to mention Mind Shock. He's really, really funny, but he covers a lot of good stuff. And he recently covered. Bibi, you want to make a comment?
I just approve of him because he took Joris's work and made it his own. And
I was just about to say that.
He made it right. He made it right, guys. He made it right. He did
And
acknowledge it. Yeah, he did. He acknowledged it and he corrected it.
You got to see that Chris Mind Shot. That one's good.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Mind Shock tends to borrow. You like that one? You like that one, BB? Borrow.
Borrow.
He likes to borrow a lot of information from a lot of other excellent YouTubers and researchers. And I just about fell off the chair with his latest one when he was talking about Christine Rudy, because that's something I looked into deeply a few months ago, and I wrote that as a comment. But still, as long as you acknowledge other people who have done the research, who have contributed to it, there's nothing wrong with discussing it, as long as you give acknowledgement, because people do work very, very hard, and it's good as a community. I think that if we acknowledge each other, not all of us are experts. I'm certainly not an expert in all areas of the cases, and it's great that we come together as a community on wrongful convictions, because people like different styles and they're attracted to different styles, and I think that's important. Yes, it is important to acknowledge. What do you think, BB?
Yeah, even if you don't know the person's name, at least say some guy on Reddit, or whatever. Some person on Reddit.
On Mind Shock, he gets a little excited. He really does get into his work, and I mean wholeheartedly. He puts a lot of work into it, and I've always enjoyed listening to his stuff because it's just spot on.
Yes, and he's also very funny.
But I think he promotes a lot of people when he's stirring it up and giving the information out there from his point of view too.
Correct. So I think, at the end, guys, collectively, I think it's a good thing. The more exposure that the cases have, the better for everyone. He's got his own unique style that people like and enjoy. So, as long as I think if you promote people that have done the work, I think that's really a good move. So, thank you guys for your kind support. As I said, we've got a really big presence on YouTube, and also we have a big Discord channel where you'll find us, not all the time, but some of the times in YouTube chat. I know that BB's there quite a lot. Sammy, Zoe, Susan, Jack61, people come in and out all the time, and normally you will find someone there at any time around the clock. What I like about Foul Play, we're like a family. We really are. We have our ups and downs like everybody else, but the good thing is that we cover the globe because we are from all over the world. We have people like Wizard who come in and out and provide his wisdom on the cases, and all of us contribute to the cause, and that's very, very important. So look, guys, I think what we'll do is we'll start the podcast proper. I'd just like to, today we've got a bit of a surprise for you all. I've got a series of questions which I'm going to present to the panel. But before we do that, I just want to ask the panel, hey, what have you guys been doing in the last week? How things been going? Anything new, anything exciting? BB, we'll start off with you.
No, I live a really boring life. I'm just waiting for them to finish the bridge by my house so I can go the normal way to town instead of through
The back way.
roads.
Yes.
Yes, we've had to go the back way. No matter where we go, we have to go the back way to get out of here because I live out in the country.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So our bridge is out and being replaced. They're almost done. They moved one of the cranes today, so yay.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've noticed that we're getting a lot of new members on the Discord channel. Is that what you found as well, BB? A lot of people coming in?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of new ones making it to the phone yet, but sooner or later they'll stumble their way in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, BB. Much appreciated for all your help that you do with the channel, especially in chat. Thank you so much.
Problem.
Jack61, what have you been up to in the last week or so?
Where do I begin? Well, we'll leave the book for a little bit later, but because I know we're going to talk about it. But I think that mainly is some of the readings we've been through have been brutal. You mentioned Dr. LeBeau, and that's one of them that's been. It was terrible because they did the hearing, in order for the state to be able to present his evidence, his testing, right? So, and then going through the reading, listening to this back and forth between Beauty questioning LeBeau on the stand, and he was so obstinate, he was so arrogant.
Correct.
Beauty would read not necessarily a really complex question, and sometimes it would have a couple of things in it, and he would get to the end of it, and Dr. LeBeau would say, "Could you repeat the question? Could you repeat that?"
Yes.
This guy's not dumb at all.
No.
So, doing him, and then another interesting thing we did. I think we did it last night. I can't remember. Susan probably remembers it. Zoe too. They were talking about when we did last night, guys, with Kratz, and he kept saying that word, wanting to infer. So basically, he was going through this process. He wanted to bring in again Stephen's past stuff, which Willis had already ruled and said you cannot bring that. And this wasn't in front of the jury, but he wanted to try to argue again to be able to bring in these things that Willis had already said you can't say it in court. It's prior record, it's prejudicial. He kept going through that. He's basically trying to talk the judge into whatever we were talking. I can't remember the testimony at the time what he was trying to get in. It was just brutal to hear that. It was terrible. And then, of course, the book, and we can get in more into that later. That's been,
we will.
Jack,
if I could just ask, in regards to Dr. LeBeau, now I know that Neverly was reading the part of Dr. LeBeau, but do you honestly believe that the jury and the judge understood all the heavy chemistry?
Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. No way.
Yeah. Whether they really understood the significance, because I believe that Buting was trying to discredit the actual FBI's technique and approach to the EDTA testing.
That's right.
I know that the judge was very suspicious about the EDTA results. He had written some type of report stating that he believed it was essentially a waste of time. In other words, both the defense and the state could argue either way, whether EDTA was found or not found. And there were weaknesses in the test. Is that right, Jack?
Well, there were. And, the big problem, of course, you could come up with false positive with EDTA because of the detection limits of the machine. So the problem you really run into, I don't know the best way to describe it. Oh, I know what it was. We also read through that Janine, the defense witness that talked about the EDTA testing.
Yes.
Basically, they were able to detect the EDTA allegedly in the 1 microliter sample but they didn't detect it in the 2 microliter sample, which doesn't make really any sense at all. So it gives these false positives. So it's really confusing to say, really, did they detect or not detect EDTA in these blood swabs around the ignition switch, which they said they didn't on the CD case and on those strips at the back. Of course, now he only tested 3. But
yes, but he ruled on 6.
That's right.
I believe her point was basically, was it not there, or did they just not see it with their machinery? I think that was her point, yeah.
Exactly.
A failure to detect it. So in other words, even though it was actually present, because their machines have got a sensitivity limit, they may not have detected it. But of course, the big problem that we know is that the blood was actually quite old, and you don't know what's going to happen to that EDTA.
Oh, absolutely. And that was another thing that she pointed out, this expiration date on the Vacutainer tube, the blood vial.
Correct.
So she's saying, this thing is, because Fallon or whoever was arguing wanted to argue that even though he was trying to say, well, that just, or not gotten Fallon, but gone, the expiration date really pertains to the vacuum on that tube, how long it will hold vacuum. And she said, no, that's the entire package. Sammy knows. She read it.
Yeah. Well, what I gathered was this, that could not have been used as a control for the simple fact that there was no guarantee that vacuum still had integrity.
Correct.
Well, they even said that the tube had been opened. The FBI acknowledged that. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It had been opened. There's no question about that, because remember that the actual blood tube was inspected by the Innocence Project team. So, there was a lot of hullabaloo regarding the hole in the vial. And I'm here to tell you that the hole in the top of the vial is completely normal.
Right. That's meaningless. It means nothing at all.
Correct.
That's how they get the blood in there.
Correct. It's a vacutainer. Being a diabetic, I routinely have blood tests, and I've seen the apparatus in which they use. It's a vacuum system, so whereby a needle punctures both your arm and also the tube, and it's under vacuum, which means it's able to draw the blood directly into the tube, and it does it very, very quickly. But you made a valid point. Those tubes actually only last for a short while. I spoke to the nurse that took my blood. Those tubes they've got a shelf life of a few weeks, right? That normally if you collect blood, you could only store them short term.
That's all they're made.
Yes, correct.
Another interesting point on that is that they were talking about EDTA and how it would react within that blood. And I actually questioned somebody about this a long time ago on Reddit. This reaction between the blood and the EDTA over a period of time. What happens? What do you really have in that blood vial?
Correct.
We know it was opened at least once, so it's got air introduced into it.
Yes.
We know it was still liquid. Yeah, I get that. But what do you really have? There were no studies done, and he could not present anything as to what could happen over a period of time. And that's another valid point. So, I don't know. It was very, very... it was a very difficult read, probably one of the worst, and he was by far worse than Newhouse, 10 times worse than Newhouse, as far as I'm concerned.
And that's saying somebody.
Oh, it is.
Oh my God! And he kept just yammering on and on and on. He never took a breath. Let me tell you.
What was that other thing he would do? He would ask him a question. He said, "Well, if you'll let me explain," he's like, "No, you can talk about it in a moment."
I know. He was like in charge of the court. You said it, Jack. It was right on. You hit the nail on the head when you said that he's a professional witness.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody asked the question about the blood vial. Basically, when the top of the tube is punctured, it holds its liquid because the whole thing is under vacuum. So no blood can leak out of the top of the tube. So it's held together by a vacuum. consider when you have a vial, say, of insulin, and you put in an injection to take out insulin from that vial. When you take out the needle, it still holds its volume. It doesn't leak out because it's almost like a self-healing rubber. It closes tight. When you see blood being crystallized around the top, it means that air has gotten into the tube. So someone clearly had opened up the tube, and we know that because the actual volume of the blood tube was about 5.5 mils. Those blood tubes hold about 10 mils when they collect it. So someone had definitely taken out blood, and we know that because that blood was used for DNA testing in 1996. So we know that
Right,
tube has been open.
My niece says that anytime they do a test in it, they pull the tops off and do the test and then push the top back on. That it's
Correct.
really easy,
Yes.
and that's the way they do it. Yeah.
Correct. Those tubes are designed to be used within a week, right? So a phlebologist. Yes, Sammy.
We had some technical difficulties. Just hang in there.
We're back on?
We are.
Awesome.
So maybe the last little bit you guys were discussing, can you please repeat it?
Sure. Zoe, are you able to mute your mic? Okay, awesome. Yeah, so basically we were just discussing the fact that the blood in the blood vial was extremely old, and no one has done any testing on EDTA and the effect of age on the EDTA in the blood. So it's very, very contentious regarding the EDTA blood results, not because the EDTA was not present, but it just meant that with the tests that the FBI were doing, the EDTA could not be detected using their system. That's it.
And that was another point that Janine brought up, is that they don't know exactly how much. Dr. LeBeau brought up a good point. These manufacturers put too much EDTA, far more than they need, into each of these containers. So, but she was clear to point out that without a known sample, there's no way that they don't have a standard to go against. So they're basically just saying we detect something or we don't. But what's your standard to say, yes, this is EDTA for sure? You got to know that standard. They didn't have it. So
correct.
That was another good point.
Yeah, and I believe they also, Dr. LeBeau used one of the test samples as a standard, right? And
that's right.
You can't do that.
No.
A standard is completely independent. You can't use a test sample as a standard, right?
Absolutely not.
And what you said, when they were looking at different volumes, they found that in some cases they didn't detect any EDTA, which was pretty bizarre. So the actual testing system was quite flawed. So I wouldn't put too much of a reliance on that.
Yeah, and another thing is what he kept talking about forever, you guys. I mean, his answers were like 3 pages long, and he just went on and on and on. What struck me like is interesting is that how they, maybe you already addressed this, Dr. Silkman, how he said that we were able.
That's about right. We're back?
Not for me.
Oh.
Still buffering. Oh, wait. I think there it goes. Yep, it's in.
Yep. Okay.
We're good?
We're good.
For now.
In a minute.
Okay. So we probably will go for 1 hour then.
I'm buffering again.
All right. We go? I seem to be okay at this end.
It's not buffering on my end now.
It's going
All right.
now.
You're back on.
Okay, good. We'll be quick in that case. Just Rhonda, how are things going with you and your research?
Things are going good. Very busy doing research and reading new stuff. And I don't recall, Cherie and I had stayed up really late last night working on a little mapping project and for one of the accusers in Daniel's case. And so we have quite a bit of fun doing that kind of stuff. And I want to say before I forget that I'm moving my channel or my show to Tuesdays, same time,
Okay.
but it's going to be on Tuesdays instead of Sundays.
Okay.
But yeah, we're just, plugging away on the research. I found some new stuff last night I hadn't read yet and very interesting. So I do a lot of highlighting in documents and stuff so that I can connect things. And so
Awesome.
it's been very interesting. So been doing a lot of recording in foul play for these trials. And, Neverly and I have always been kind of buddies, kind of homies already. And I think we have a whole different relationship now than what we ever have before.
Yes, yes, very different.
I've been practicing, Jack and Neverly, you'll be happy to know that I've been practicing the word succinamide. So I think I can say it now if I ever need to again. So
Wow.
Bloody hell.
so yeah. So but yeah, I've been enjoying the heck out of that, and just staying busy.
Awesome.
I'm just going to take a vote that we just call it what the professionals call it, sucks. That's what they call it.
Sucks.
Just move
Yep.
on.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Just Rhonda. Yeah, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing so far, and we all do, especially your readings for the trials. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. Okay, Neverly, how things been going with yourself?
Hello. It's been busy, and I have a full-time job, of course, during my Pacific Standard Time hours. So I want to thank Jack and Rhonda.
Yes, it is. We're back on?
That's crazy.
Not for
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
So, LeBeau was a big part of my week. Also, thank you, Jack, for the reading of the book.
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
what's it called. Yeah.
Blind Injustice.
Blind Injustice. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, so far so good. Other than that, my identity has been stolen. My SIM card has been swapped, and they took a lot of money from my account. So I was dealing with that as well. So protect your passwords, people. Change them often. That's all I can say.
So wait a minute. What you're saying is that after you read Dr. LeBeau, someone stole your identity.
Yes.
Maybe the FBI?
The FBI.
Yes.
The
You
FBI.
connected the dots.
Careful
That's what
with
it is.
that.
Yes. Yes.
So now you're
And-
saying you're broke then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. And also Dr. Silkman, I remember who I also read, whose testimony I read. It was Dr. Simley,
Okay.
the odontologist.
Yes.
And yeah, that was also very frustrating, not on his part. Actually, he was just talking about his credentials. I think that 75% of his testimony was about his credentials and his role in the court
Yes.
system. But also the part when he was asked, can you say that this was Teresa's tooth? And he says, no, I cannot do that. I cannot say with 100% certainty that was her tooth. And then that was like a red flag when they switched and they said, but to the best of the scientific, what's it called?
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
Yes,
About
yes. And
yes.
then he says, yes, I guess. So to me, that wasn't a match. So, but of course, they twisted the words. And again, what did jury take out from that? I don't know. Yeah. Imagine just
Correct.
being Stephen in that position, just sitting there and seeing your life unfold in downward spiral again.
Yeah, it
That's
would have
all I
been
gotta
it would have
say.
been terrible. Absolutely
Yes.
terrible. You're correct. It's pretty obvious that Kratz did not want any degree of uncertainty. He wanted everything to be 100%. And we know that in science, especially in science, it's almost impossible to have everything with 100% certainty. And the dentist, the orthodontologist, he was being very, very honest. And he said, look, I can't give a 100% guarantee here. It looks like a match. And remember, he had to super glue two roots together to get some type of identification going. And he was being honest because your whole career's integrity is on the line. So you've got to be careful when you make judgment calls like that. But Ken Kratz was having none of that, unfortunately. So what did you learn reading LeBeau out, especially? What did you think of him as a witness?
I think that he was very difficult. I found him even defiant at a certain point. I also think that he loved to hear himself talk. And I think although I believe what he was saying, the procedures and whatnot, and, his knowledge, he's a very smart guy, very smart. There's no doubt about that. But I think we characterized it as being a professional witness, that he knew how to manipulate his answers, and even those very long answers. The jury, even the judge got confused. Like, wait a second, Correct. What are you saying? You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yeah.
So, yes. And I think that the whole process, the fact that it took 4 to 6 months, originally that was his estimation, 4 to 6 months to develop this test, that they actually did in a couple of weeks. And then they also manipulated the parameters and using a new instrument, without a protocol. Yeah, to me, sorry, he lost me right there.
Correct. But thank you, Neville, but I think that's the big problem when you have experts appear on a panel. And the way Buting questioned LeBeau, it was all based on the technique, right? He was trying to discredit the technique, and it got extremely, extremely technical. And I did a presentation on the EDTA. It took me more than a week to understand what the hell LeBeau was talking about, right? Because
I remember that. It was a great, maybe we should link that one as well, because you simplified what he was talking about, because this was just endless. It was endless. Yeah.
Correct. In the end, it was actually quite simple to follow, but during the trial, it was an absolute nightmare, because they were splitting hairs about techniques and degrees of sensitivity. It just became a terrible mess. And unfortunately, the jury had to hear it. All right, Neville, I'm conscious.
Just real quick, quickly, if people are interested, I can totally demonstrate via a little video of how the blood is taken out of the vein and into the vacutainer. Awesome. Yeah, so for some people that are not familiar, yes, it's a very simple process, but there's no doubt there's a hole in the stopper, and then we can take it from there. So maybe I can.
You could also pull the top off. You could also pull the top off and show what it looks like before and after pulling the top off of it.
Yes,
correct.
I can totally do that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Neville. Jack61, do you have a quick comment?
Just to add to what Neville was talking about with Dr. LeBeau, he talks about this chromatograph a lot of times. And I never worked in the medical field. I worked in another industry. We used a gas chromatograph. And basically it's the same. You're testing how long it takes something to get burned off into the system against a known standard. So
correct.
In the industry that I worked in, we were testing for different solvents and how much was in there, or actually when it burned off, if it was present. And then over the course of 15 minutes or 20, however long the test took, these different gases burn off at different times and it would show a peak. So just so everyone kind of understands that, if it wasn't for that experience in my industry, I would be completely lost when they talk about a chromatograph. And they talk about it a lot.
Correct. As well as some very complex machinery. And the whole test that they developed was a multi-step process.
Oh yeah, I
Right.
talk about double linking the LC to the
Yeah.
mass spectrometer to
Yes.
mass spectrometer mass
Correct.
spectrometers in tandem. So yeah,
Correct. Yeah, it was a very complex process.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jack61.
Yeah.
Susan, do you have a quick comment?
Yeah, I just want to say that I imagine they took that stopper out to make those spot cards.
Well, they actually would have, yes, but the actual stopper was open before the FBI got to it.
But
Right,
they made
there's
those spot cards in, I think, was
Yes,
it
they
03?
did. But
03?
yes, they did. Yes, they then that tube has definitely been reopened again. The FBI opened it, but somebody opened it prior. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It has been, that tube has been opened, no doubt, and air has gotten into the blood vial. Correct. All right. Not my verbiage. How things been going with you?
Oh, busy. Just doing the same thing, working on some projects for Brendan. We're looking forward to doing the book of Brendan with Mo's Call and Pam Deere,
Yes.
and looking into that. And we're going to do the 6th Hour, break that down, that podcast that Tracy Keogh has made. It's wonderful. If you haven't listened to it, everybody go listen to it. And also the Under the Hood, we're going to break that down too, that writing on Brendan's language difficulties. So that's basically what I'm doing, and listening to the trial. I love the voices.
Yes.
I just love the voices. They're just great. So yeah, and I did one reading just a little bit and liked it so much I signed up for the next. That's about it for me.
Awesome. And all of us appreciate the good work that you're doing, and keeping Brendan Dassey alive. And we mustn't forget, he sort of like tends to get pushed in the background, if you know what I mean, because Kathleen Zone is representing Stephen, but we also mustn't forget Brendan as well. He's in prison, for a very long time as well.
Yeah, thank you.
No, and we all appreciate the hard work that you're doing, Linda, and that's just awesome, absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. And Susan, yep, Susan, how things been going with yourself?
Oh, pretty good. Had to read more cracks this week.
Oh no!
I read his rebuttal after
God.
After the defense closing statement, and it's absolutely ridiculous. He actually told the jury that said that Pam of God found Teresa.
Right.
He said after Pam found her. I mean, plus just the things he brought up. It's just absolutely infuriating.
Maybe he was just making an inference.
Yeah, another inference. He loves those inferences. Yeah,
he sure does. Sure does.
So yeah.
Yes. So yeah, you've had a huge role in the testimony readings, and has your impression of Sweaty Boy changed at all?
No, he's just as despicable as I've always thought.
Yes. Yes, 100% agree with you. But but you have to admit it was very important to do his reading and to understand the type of person he is. His strategy that he used throughout the trials. Just so important to understand his way of thinking.
I really look at him as an actor on the stage.
Yeah.
That's really what he is. He's acting out his part, and trying to convince his point of view.
Correct. I mean, for me, I always said that he actually took on the persona of actually being Teresa's father, that father type of figure, showing the emotion and the shock and the horror. Because if you looked at the Horbach family, they were expressionless. You know, there
Well,
was
yeah, evidently in the defense's closing, the string, I imagine, they had said something about, Teresa, something about the party she'd been to Saturday and her living with a guy, and, brought up a few things about Teresa, and he was just absolutely outraged that they should try and victim shame and blame, and he just went off on that one.
Correct.
That has nothing to do with this trial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
For victimology, basically.
Correct. And we have discussed that previously in previous episodes. I think because of a lack of proper victimology, maybe a victimology study was done. I know Neverly has mentioned that before, and they haven't disclosed it. But that led to a lot of wild speculation and the fact that a lot of individuals that should have been looked at were not looked at. And this, of course, led to tunnel vision, confirmational bias, all the things that are discussed in blind injustice really happen in both Stephen's trial and Brendan's trial. And a lack of victimology, I think, was just a red flag, in my opinion. What do you think, Susan?
Absolutely. Big time. I mean, that's very important in an investigation. I mean, you start there.
Correct. I felt that the way Ken Kratz presented Teresa Halbach, she basically was untouchable. No character. You can't say anything to downplay her character. And the reality is a horrible murder took place. Someone wanted to murder her, right? That's pretty obvious. The question is, would it be Stephen or would it be somebody else, right? And because of a lack of proper victimology, we're not going to know that answer, And
right.
as time goes by, people's memories fade, people get things confused. You need to act very, very quickly at the beginning, not 15 years later. You know what I mean?
And Kratz said, why should we have looked at Ryan or
correct
Bladorn or anybody else when all the evidence pointed at Stephen?
Correct. And it's because of their tunnel vision and confirmation bias.
Exactly.
That's why they were looking at Stephen,
Right.
It's a terrible situation. All right, Susan, thank you so much. Any additional comments?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Oh, boy. Okay,
I almost
Zoe.
forgot your regular voice, Susan.
Yes.
Me too, Neverly.
Correct. It's a constant nightmare. Zoe, how have things been going with you? Have you paid for your internet?
No, I forgot. Jesus, thank you.
Oh, God.
My God. I don't know what's going on today, but yeah, the connection is really not stable today.
Yes.
I hope we can make it till the end.
Yeah, we'll wind it up pretty soon. I think you're right. I mean, America has got a new president now, so I could imagine that there'll be millions of people online. And all jokes aside, with the new president, guys, do you think anything different's going to happen in regards to the criminal justice system? Do you think things will get better?
Somehow I doubt it.
We can always hope.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not optimistic. I'm sorry.
Wow. Okay. Susan?
We can always hope.
Correct. I think the way things are now, it's pretty bad. In fact, very, very bad. Just by reading Mark's book and also looking at the work done by a lot of YouTubers, it's pretty shocking when you consider the amount of people being exonerated, I mean, that's good, but the mere fact that a lot of them have spent 20 plus years in prison, I think indicates that there's something very, very wrong with the criminal justice system, and it's going to need a massive overhaul. But again, later on we can discuss the book, Blind Injustice, in a bit more detail. I know that Paul Capaldi is reading a review on it at the moment, but we can do our own review a little bit later on. Okay, awesome. Sammy, how things been going with yourself?
Super. Yay. Everything, all is well here.
Oh,
and I'm
awesome.
enjoying listening to the book. I enjoyed reading a part. So all of you out there, just keep listening.
Awesome. And your studio's going well?
Oh, yeah. You're listening to it now.
Oh, fantastic. And do you have a keep out sign on your door?
Yeah, I have to put one. I have lots of grandsons here. And, their mommy and then the hubby. So, yeah.
So, in other words, a full house.
Yeah. I couldn't be happier.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, look, thank you, guys. Now, I realize that we are having some connectivity issues. So I've got a series of questions. I think if we can get through one, we can continue next week. The question I have, now this is without notice, so my panel hasn't heard these questions before. No one's prepared them. Here's the question, and I want to go through the panel. The question is, now I want you to take off your hats. That is, unfortunately, in the community, the research community, there are truthers and there are guilters. I want you to take off your hat. Approach it from a totally neutral perspective. Here's the question. What possible motive would Stephen Avery have in brutally murdering Teresa Halbach? Bibi.
Okay, I have my hat off, but I got to be careful because it's tinfoil. So
Yep.
the signals might get in. I can't find a reason why he would have a reason to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find a reason for that day. I can't find a reason. He was supposed to be taking what's her face to AA class or something.
Yes.
Jody.
So
it would have been some spur of the moment thing because it couldn't be a planned out thing like they all say. He planned it. Well, he didn't know that class. So how could it be a planned out thing that he had planned? He said, oh, it's the same girl,
Mm-hmm.
How could it be a planned out thing? He didn't know until the last minute that he wasn't taking Jody.
Yes, but according to Ken Kratz, Stephen Avery had lured Teresa Halbach. So did he plan this murder?
How could he have? He thought he was going to be at AA classes.
Are you sure you took the hat off?
I took my hat off.
Motive. I'll get to you in a minute, Zoe. So, Bibi, it's fair to say you can't find a possible motive?
No, not at all. It's not even considering the large amount of money that he was going to, he could have bought anybody he wanted for, whatever purpose he wanted, just about.
Okay. So you can't find a possible motive why Stephen Avery would take the life of Teresa Halbach?
No, not at all.
Okay. Thank you, Bibi. Jack 61.
Hey, but I'm not muted.
Not even. Uh-oh. Is that Zoe or?
I'm putting my hat back on now.
Back on. Jack 61.
Not even thinking about, knowing that Stephen did have some anger issues that, he displayed at an early age. Not even considering the time that he spent wrongly convicted. I just from what I've heard and not even thinking about the guilt or feeling that be guilt or truth or whatever, I don't I don't get it. Even the only thing that I ever got out of this really is that Ken Kratz he had to create this monster that got out of prison. He was mad or, whatever. So he decides to, this girl's been coming around. She's young, she's cute, attractive. And, he had to somehow get this luring thing in, even though everything was really in the open. He called Auto Trader. I'm sorry to keep it short. I don't know of a reason why he would do it at all.
Yep. So you can't find any possible motive. You can't find anything in his personality or his background that will suddenly drive him to take the life of a 25-year-old female.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't.
None whatsoever.
No.
Okay. Now, Zoe wrote in chat that she's going to forget her answer by the time I get to her.
I didn't know you were monitoring the chat.
Don't worry, I'll monitor everything.
He's everything.
The boss is always looking over your shoulder. You didn't know that?
Of course.
Yep.
Zoe, I'll read the question out again. What possible motive would Stephen Avery have in brutally murdering Teresa Horbach? Zoe.
So we need to take our hats off, right? So I'm not a guilter, right?
You're not anything. Just you're a normal person. Tell us why.
The only thing I could think of would be rejection.
Rejection?
That he wanted something from Teresa and he didn't get it and he got angry.
So, but basically, he made a pass at her, made an offer.
Yeah.
And she's like, ew, no, not going to happen, and he pissed him off.
Yeah. That would be,
but
for me,
they had money.
No, it was out of, he didn't plan it. It was out of
the moment.
Yeah, just that would be the only thing I could imagine could have happened.
Yep.
Can I mute
Sammy,
now?
you have a comment. Yes, you can. Thank you, Zoe. Okay, so some form of rejection on Teresa Horbach's part. Sammy.
I could think of 0 things that would benefit him to do a thing like that, especially knowing as an everyday average person off the street, he stood so much to gain with what was going on in his world at that moment. Mm-hmm. There's 0, he's not even in her circle of friends, family, none of that. I could not outwardly, just as an everyday person off the street, look at him and say there was even one single benefit to him doing that at all, ever.
Okay. A very, very good point. Thank you very much, Sammy. Just Rhonda, what are your thoughts?
There's nothing. I know you're looking for an answer, or maybe I sense you're looking for some kind of answer, but I just can't. Even with what little of psychology that I studied in my criminalistic courses, even if he had the rejection factor, rejection doesn't normally play out in that gruesome of a behavior. If that were going to be something that he was going to do, possibly murder, possibly, choking or something, a crime of passion. But this was a crime of, not that it happened, but it was explained as a crime of extreme morbidity and just over the top, and even rejection would not cause somebody with a penchant to do something like that, to do that kind of a killing. Yes. There's no reason in my mind.
Yes.
No motive.
Okay. Thank you, Rhonda. So Rhonda, you can't find a motive?
I can't find any motive. Not for Teresa. He just didn't know her. He wasn't, like somebody else said, she wasn't in his circle, and She just came out and took pictures for him, and it was not Teresa. No, I can't find a motive.
Interesting. Because, of course, when Stephen Avery was interrogated on November the 9th, the suggestion was made to him by Wiegert and Fassbender that Teresa had an accident at the salvage yard, that she accidentally bumped her head. And what do you think, guys? Do you think it was a little bit extreme?
That was their really lame, dumb attempt at using the Reed technique in that moment. That was just insane. Sanity.
Correct.
We're buffering.
Correct.
We're buffering.
We're buffering.
Oh, we're back.
We're back, or we're buffering. All right. So, guys, okay, beautiful. This will be the last question, right? So we'll just go through this one. Just Rhonda, any additional comments?
No, that's fine. I'm good. That's all I got.
Fantastic. All right. Neville, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I got it. I do not see a single possible motive why Stephen, at that time, in his state of mind and stage of life, would ever murder anybody. But Teresa particularly, no, I can't see anything. I think that this was a murder of convenience and out of rejection. So it was very personal and very convenient again. So I don't see that at all. He was trying to stay good. He knew what he went through the last time. So to go to the extent like the Kratz described what quote unquote happened, no. That was just all bullshit and Kratz's agenda. He had an agenda, he had a mission, and he completed it. But I didn't see a single motive that he would do that.
Right. No motive on Stephen's part?
No motive on Stephen's part. To the contrary,
Right.
I think, as he said in his calls, he tried to stay good.
Right.
And out of trouble. And he was chasing away his own nephews because they were doing something that he didn't like.
Correct.
So he could stay out of it, yeah.
Yeah. So he had a care factor for his nephews, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And also he was aware that he did not want any attention, negative attention, which his nephews would bring if they were continuing to do whatever they were doing and they got caught. So
he was concerned.
I think he was very
concerned with
concerned.
her.
Very
Correct.
concerned. Yes.
Yep.
And
Excellent
very
point,
conscious.
Bibi.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent point, Bibi.
Dr. Silkman?
Yes.
We have a question from Sheila Smokey, and she's asking, why is Michael not a factor in any of the suspicion? I think he may be involved, and it be covering for him. They may be covering for him.
Correct. Yeah, Mike Osmondson is definitely a person that could come into play. I mean, because of, this is controversial, of course, the relationship with Marie Avery and all sorts of stuff. So that goes into a deeper question and deeper situation. But Maiko is definitely a person of interest, great interest. This could have simply been payback to get Stephen into trouble. Sorry, Neville.
And let's not forget that he was going to get some money, maybe not $36 million, not even close, but he was going to get some money. He wanted to do his life right.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say, Neville, you can't find a motive for Stephen?
That would be very fair.
Okay. Bibi.
He was also very conscientious about even making sure Jody's bills got paid up.
Correct. And if you listen to the phone calls, you could tell that his number one concern was with Jody, all the time. He had a vision for his future. His vision of his future was to get married with Jody and go away, right? So he did have plans. And, of course, your plans aren't going to go anywhere if you then decide on the spur of the moment you're going to kill someone, right? So, your whole future is finished. You're going to be in prison. Bibi.
Well, if you're obsessed with one woman, you don't go around trying to get sex off another one.
Correct. In actual fact, that's what Ken Kratz was trying to allude to, that because Jody was in prison, he wanted sex at that stage, and that's the reason why he did it.
He was too obsessed with Jody.
Correct.
We have a comment here in the chat that says, or she was in an accident and they, meaning law enforcement, took advantage of his situation.
That could well be the case. Now, but bear in mind, though, that the airbags in the RAV4 didn't deploy, but her RAV4 vehicle definitely hit something with impact. Now, because you have an accident doesn't necessarily mean that your airbags are always going to deploy. Sometimes they don't. BB?
Well, and that's also if you believe in the one RAV theory.
Don't we? I deliberately avoided that one.
That could be a good excuse or a reason for why maybe one wasn't enough.
Yes, I deliberately avoided
just
any
saying.
questions. Yes,
I got my foil hat back on, so just saying.
Good. All right, so Neville, you can't find a motive. Is that correct? Yes, I think Neville said that she couldn't.
That is correct. Yes, I couldn't find a motive. He was in a good place. He had something to look forward to. All of that happened.
It's too understand.
Yeah, that's too much stress on you, though.
For Susan's motive, what I said.
You know what I think it is, Doc? This is like an ED. This is like an EDTA test. We need a stability study.
That's right.
Zoe said we're up and going again, so you want to finish it up?
That is crazy. I thought
so
that
we're not a half a cup of coffee?
We are
we filled it back up.
Okay, well, I'll let you first, and
I think we should stop now because it's the connection is unstable, unfortunately. But what we'll do for our listeners, look, thank you guys for joining us. We will continue next week. And like I said, we'll go over your questions and we'll try and answer them next week. I think at the moment, the internet's a little bit unstable. And we could blame Donald Trump and Ken Kratz.
Yeah, I don't think it's his fault too much anymore.
Whoever's typing.
Yeah, I don't mean KK either.
All right.
So, are we ready to call this?
Yeah, we'll call it.
I would love to thank all of the viewers, listeners, and everyone on Foul Play and all of the wonderful people we have that come visit us on our Discord. Y'all just keep coming, and we have more interesting stuff. And I just want to say thank you. We love you. Have a wonderful day. This has been a Foul Play production.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silkman.
I'm dying to hear your response.
Next week.
Wow. Make me wait.
Well, everybody make a note, because otherwise we're going to be going, crap, what was it that I was going to say? So
don't worry, I've got it written down, and we're out with not my verbiage, and then Susan. And then Susan will be next.
Zoe hasn't ended the broadcast. It's still going.
I haven't ended it. Are we done or what?
Yeah, you're still
We're done.
Say goodbye.
Oh, okay. Bye, everyone.
Behind the scenes talk. Yeah.
I love you.
I got a bloop.
Oh.